Hello everyone! I bring to you today a tier list that was suggested by someone over at Patreon, so they get what they want, and they wanted me to talk about the Armada toy line. Specifically, they wanted me to rank every Transformers Armada toy. Now, I am infamous for this toy line. You've heard my opinions of some of these for a long time now. We're going to put this to bed, and we're finally going to show you like where everything in my mind ranks in the Armada series. But there are a few caveats here because we can't talk about literally every toy. For one, we're not going to be talking about any of the repaints. It would double the length of this video and get very repetitive. So we'll be focusing on fresh molds only, first versions only. Maybe we'll discuss the repaints if it's relevant. No remolds. So that means the Transmetals from Beast Wars, those are not going to be included, nor is Skywarp. Again, repetitive. No individual Minicons. Teams or accessory only, which means we'll be talking about Minicon teams, the 3-packs, and we'll be talking about Minicons that come with the larger figures as accessories to the larger figure. We're going to be talking about the American versions of the toys because we know by and large the Takara versions were superior in paint, gimmick, etc. With only one exception that I can think of. Hoist, I don't know what happened there. But yeah, we'll be discussing the more well-known versions, the international versions of these toys. We're not going to be doing any of the sidelines, which means no build to rule. Assume it will all be in the flea market section. And we are going to be fair here. So I firmly believe the best Armada toy can only come head to head with like the mid-range Cybertron toy. So these scores are going to be relative to Transformers Armada. So keep that in mind. We will be discussing these in context to their own series as to how good they are. So everyone clear? All the ground rules laid out? All right, we got about 33 entries to go through, so let's get to it. And it starts with Armada Megatron. I really feel like this figure could have been so much better. It's not that bad, but it's one of those where you really wondered why they didn't try harder in the articulation department in Armada, because there's literally no reason this toy does not have knees and hips. And if it did, yeah, this would be a top tier toy. As it is, it's a little simplistic, everything in Armada was, so we're not going to hold that against it. He looks fine, functions fine. It was what was cool about him was how many different ways he could interact with Minicons. They were really big on like how many little gimmicks Minicons could unlock on him. As that kind of figure, he's pretty decent. So if we count all of that and all the little tricks, so we count the fact that everything in Armada is just a big gimmick toy, then I'm going to put Megatron in premium for now. I expect him to drop farther down the premium list, but he's worth it for now. It's a pretty big jump up. We go straight into Unicron. I named this as one of my toys of the decade once upon a time, and that still holds true. I'm going to move him right up to the Holy Grail level. It's a fantastic figure. It is not hampered by its gimmicks at all. It is only enhanced by them. It was a valiant attempt to create a retail level Unicron toy of any kind, to the point where they got away with remolding this into a more G1 accurate look, and it became a very sought after figure when they did, despite the fact that this was famously overproduced to the point where they had to start releasing more of the original Unicrons in its Energon packaging. This is still a fantastic figure to this day, and to this day, definitely like one of, if not the best Armada toy. And when you're talking about a Supreme class figure in that series, that's kind of going to be a given. Tidal Wave. Whew. Tidal Wave is a big brick of a figure, but he is a wonderful brick of a figure. So keep in account that it was about the tricks in Armada rather than producing like a robust action figure. Tidal Wave had a lot of cool tricks for his size. The big super big battleship mode, that was super cool. Individual vehicle modes were really cool. It splits into the 3 different vehicles. Had a lot of different little spots for Minicons to play in. I love the integration with Ramjet, where Ramjet can actually hide inside of him, like stowed away on the aircraft carrier section. The combination with Megatron is haphazard at best. It just kind of staples his vehicles onto Megatron, but it's still a feature. He's really just lacking in the articulation and the color accuracy, because apparently there was too much purple in 2003. So we're going to put him to Holy Grail level 2. He'll be a little bit lower now. He might move down to Premium, depending on how the rest of this goes. All right, Land Military Minicons. Okay, so this was in Wave 1, and Wave 1 really knocked it out of the park here. You'll excuse me if I can't remember the exact names of every single Minicon. In my defense, even the show couldn't keep their names straight. But for what they were, I do really, really like this set. Bone Crusher especially has such a unique transformation. Like a vertical 180-degree axis rotation. Super inventive. Super inventive. The rest were a little bit more typical, like, almost like Micromaster style transformation. The fact that they all had firing missiles at their size was a bonus. For a Minicon team, I do think it's high up. So we're going to put it up in Premium. You'd be surprised look how many of these things are ending up in the Premium section. Give it a minute. All right, Space Team Minicons. So these were a little bit more ambitious. You had a rocket, you had the carrier vehicle that takes the rocket to the launch pad, and you had a satellite. So you had a pretty diverse group here, which included 2 vehicles that Transformers had never done. That said, this is not the greatest team of Minicons. The shuttle, like the rocket's fine. The rocket's fine. I always remember things on the satellite being a little bit jank, because there's a lot of little parts folded together to make that thing that didn't really work. And the combined gun mode, the Requiem blaster they formed, never really looked great to me. It always sagged and drooped in weird spots. It's an inventive combination. Not the best though. For now, I'm gonna put it up to retail. It's not bad, but it's lacking. The execution is missing there. So we're gonna put it there for now. Let's see. The Sea Minicons, not the most inventive of names. These were fine. They were like the land military team in that they all had missiles. I don't think any of these were spring-loaded. They actually had the advantage that the land military had at least one spring-loaded launcher. These were all pressure-launched. They're fine. They're fun little figures. There's nothing too thrilling or exciting about them. They're just, kind of like on par. Just to kind of check a box that we did. Oh, hang on. I have not been hitting my button. I keep forgetting that is a thing. There's the Minicon team. There's the ones we're talking about right now. I apologize for that. I'm still getting used to this new format. All right, so, middle of the road Minicons. Nothing too, particularly fancy about them. Air Military, on the other hand. So, the gimmick here was weapon modes. Well, I shouldn't say both, because there were no factions amongst Minicons here. But this one's definitely Decepticon-centric, and there's an Autobot-centric one later to talk about. For now, this team is one of my favorites. I love the weapon modes that they can form. The vehicle, the jet modes are really cool and really diverse. And there's some really clever things going on here. So you've got a jumbo jet that folds its wings up, and the engines of the jumbo jet become the barrels of a cluster missile launcher. Brilliant choice of design. You've got a spinning shuriken that actually spins. Cool. And then you've got Terradive. I remember this one, who was one of my favorite Minicons. I love the SR. I love the Blackbird. I love the Blackbird mode. And I love that they figured out how to turn it into a claw. It works so well. So for a Minicon team, it goes to Holy Grail. Fantastic little set of figures. All right. The race Minicons I felt were ambitious. It was kind of an attempt to create some modern vehicular style transformers at a very tiny size. And for the most part, it works. They are, again, a little bit jank because they have very tiny ball joints that they depend on for their articulation and engineering. And again, I can't remember names on any of the individual Minicons anymore, but those were very prone to popping off. Like tiny little ball joints like that just don't have enough friction to hold on very long. So especially some of these transformations required sliding the arms around and then into the figure. So when you're like transforming to robot mode, you're pulling on those ball joints. It's very hard to keep their arms on while you did that. I think that's just the green one that had that problem. I remember the orange one is oval. I remember that, and he's really good for his little size. I do think it's toward the retail end, but I want to put it just above the C Minicons because they're trying something a little bit more ambitious, I feel. All right. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was not the race team. This is the race team. God, I need to refresh my Minicon. Knowledge here. All right, so we're talking about the race team now. It was the street speed team before. All right, so now that we're back on track and we got the terminology right. All right, so see, it wants me to talk. See, hang on. Where's my race Minicons? Oh, it's okay. Hang on. It's doing that weird thing again where it doesn't really give me the ones in the same order. All right, so we're skipping those for now. We'll just go ahead and talk Starscream instead. How about that? Starscream is another one of those where you really wish articulation was a priority. There's no reason this toy should not have better knees and working universal hips. They just didn't feel like doing it. This toy is problematic. I like the look of it. And the Minicon compatibility with Swindle is okay. It unlocks his missiles. That's about it. You know, I think he could fit on the bottom of the jet mode as well. Didn't really accomplish much there. Starscream himself looks cool, and I like the wing becoming a sword. That's a cool way of using that bit of kibble. What's not cool is how far back that kibble sticks in the vehicle in the robot mode, because there's no way, like if you're putting them in a shelf, there's no way to accommodate for that. It's cumbersome and clumsy, and you really wish that backpack could fold down somewhat. He goes to retail, middle of the road. He's fine. He's fine, but he comes up short in some ways I really wish he didn't. All right. Big Optimus. So, this is a very overdue episode of Plastic Addict, admittedly. There is a lot wrong with this figure. This was incredibly ambitious for its time. So, the Prime figure itself is pretty simply designed and pretty low on articulation. It's not a bad look, but it's not the best figure to play with individually. The vehicle mode looks fine. You know, nothing really to harp on the vehicle mode. The base mode looks a little bit ramshackle because it's very thin parts spread about, but it's fine for what it is. There's places for Minicons to play. It's the super mode where things kind of fall apart here. So the whole gimmick of that toy is it's an infrared sensor. Sends a signal to the trailer to transform into its modes depending on where you are in the transformation steps of the toy. Super clever design at the time. The motors in that do not age well. So even if I tried to review this toy today, it's probably not going to function correctly. And it might spark a fire. There is that thing too. Once you get into the super mode, the toy is basically a statue. The arms have some level of articulation, and the head does, but nothing else really to go with. Yeah, it's just a big brick of the legs. Even the right arm is kind of hampered because there's wires in there for a light-up hand gimmick that doesn't actually really work. I don't know. For what it is and for the price point, like, it's a super cool trick. Like, if you saw it back in the day do its thing, it's a super cool trick. That said, it is a problematic trick. And I'm not sure it's worth it, you know, in the long run. I don't want to bargain bin it just yet because there are worse toys to talk about on this list that we're going to get to. For now, I'm putting it at the bottom of retail release. I'm not a terribly big fan of that figure. So, Overload. All right, so again, it's a big brick of a figure. And this is the brickiest of bricks in Armada. He has 2 meaningful points of articulation. 2. His hips do rotate. I think his biceps rotate. It's been a long time. But you can't really get much out of those because he doesn't have real articulation. He just has his arms that go up and down. That said, the vehicle mode is definitely unique. It's basically just a little truck pulling this massive carrier, massive like thing on his, this massive like pack. It's weird, but it's unique, and I like it for the uniqueness. The combination mode with Prime is cool, the big giant shoulder cannons, and it interacts with both Prime's vehicle mode as well as Jetfires. It can haul Jetfire as well, so it has a lot of playability with all of Prime's combiner bits. But it's that robot mode. The robot mode is so freaking cool looking. So freaking cool looking. Now, because it's a big brick and the functionality on this is so limited, especially if you don't have Prime, I can't put it too high. No, I'm going to drop it down right middle of the retail level. I think it gets by on how many ways it can function that outweigh how little articulation it has. So there's my justification. All right. Emergency Minicons. I love this team. I really like this team. So once again, you have some really cool integrations here. You do have you've got a helicopter that forms not only a decent looking robot, but also like a dual barrel cannon weapon. Prowl, our cop car here, looks cool in both modes. The gun mode is a little bit messy. But it's a decent effort. And then you got Firebot, not a creative name, that's why I remembered it. Okay, robot mode, but the fact that it can basically fold in half and turn into a giant missile pod is really cool. I don't think it's as good as the air military Minicons, but it's decent enough. It's decent enough. I think I put them there underneath the land military. I think that's where they go. All right, who next? All right, so this is the team that I think gave everyone pause. This is where we kind of figured out Armada was going to be a completely different beast than what we were used to. All right, so, oh god, what do we say? What do we say? So, the street action Minicons are not technically vehicles. Well, Sure Shock is, but Grindor and Highwire, they're bikes, and bikes and skateboards are as much toys as they are vehicles. So the fact that we're getting like Transformers of things you didn't even think possible. How are you gonna make a Transformer out of a bike? Where's all the parts? Where's the robot parts gonna come from? Well, not only did they do it, they made a combiner out of it. It's a novelty set of figures. None of them are really that functional on their own. They're just kind of unique. And then the combined mode Perceptor, I do like it as a combination more than I do the weapons. So we're putting him high up in the retail. We're putting him above the Requiem Blaster team. I think that's okay. It's okay for me anyway. Okay. Let's see. Adventure Minicons. I'm not a fan of these. I'm not a fan of these. So we're going to be talking about another Minicon team toward the end that did the same gimmick better. The whole gimmick to these were there's little rubber wheels and gear mechanisms that made things happen in their vehicle modes. A tow winch, the little gun kind of like flipping back and forth like it's like firing or aiming or something. Or these little scoops on Iceberg. On Iceberg, just kind of going like this. I mean, it's pretty lame compared to the team that it's trying to emulate, and it's a team that's supposed to integrate with Cyclonus, but the things don't really work well for Cyclonus. Yeah, I really don't like this team. And individually, if you don't have Cyclonus, they're very boring. They're very plain. Just the transformations are not engaging at all. They basically have the same. All three of them basically transform the same way. Do I put it? Okay, for now I'm going to put it flea market level. Because out of the Minicon teams, I think this is my least favorite of all of them. So if any Minicon team is going to end up down there, it's going to be that team. All right. So, air defense Minicons. I'll say this right now. They are a big translucent plastic problem. If you mine, I kept mine in Saber mode for a long time, and then when I went back to it, just every socket was broken. Every one of them had broken under stress over time. I think it's Jetstorm, the one in the middle. That one, the elbows broke on it multiple times. I just kept re-gluing the thing together. Yeah, God. We're not going to go into that, though. We're going to talk about the structure, and we're going to talk about the engineering and all that. And I think the team is fine. Sonar's an inventive design. He is fine. He looks nice. Jetstorm and Runway look decent enough. The vehicle modes look fine. I do like that they both have unique transformations in order to get to their robot modes. And yeah, the Saber combination is a little bit messy, but overall I think it works. I think it works better than the other weapon toys, especially because the colors are so well lined up. Yeah, so this one. Where did we put it? Where did we put it? We're ignoring the translucent plastic problem, right? So that, I think I want to put it at the bottom of premium. Yeah, get the Japanese release that had all solid plastic. That's the way to go. That one actually works well. All right, Demolishor. Goody. Okay. Of all the Armada designs, I think this is the one I want to see a new toy of the most, even above Starscream, because we've seen modern Starscream before. A Voyager is going to be nice in Legacy, but for now, Demolishor is such a cool design. I really like the uniqueness of how he looks, the tall shoulder missiles, the finger guns. He just looks really solid and really cool as a Decepticon. The Minicon integration is probably among the best in the entire toy line. Forming the front end of the tank mode, it can eject Blackout from there. Blackout can man the vehicle mode in the back seat, as well as this weird little anti-air turret mode he has. Yeah, so great integration, great look, great design. I want to put him up to Holy Grail. I really do. Let's put him there. Fantastic figure for the line. Really like it. More Demolishor. Less Laserbeak. So, famously on Plastic Addict, it's one of the roleplay toys out of the line. I think a lot of people just confused, why is Laserbeak an Autobot? Because they didn't care. Because they were just reusing names they had trademarked so they could keep a hold of the trademark. Yeah. So I still find this toy really lacking. The sound effects don't really make much sense. The gun mode is laughable, because it really is just the camera mode with a handle, and the handle is too small even for a child's hands. The multiple lenses of different sizes do not make sense even in modern day where you have 3D cameras. And yeah, I really wish they'd done something a little bit better with the bird mode. Give them a tail, have a better head, something. God, I hate this toy. I hate this toy. I still hate this toy to this day. God, nothing in the bargain bin yet. Nothing in the bargain bin. Trying to figure out where everything kind of fits together. Right. So Wheeljack. Why is Wheeljack a Decepticon? Because they didn't care. They're just reusing names. This one is obviously meant to be Sideswipe, which is a hilarious thing about this entire figure. Right down to the head sculpt matching. It's a really cool. It's a cool design. The vehicle mode looks really cool. Wind Shear is a really cool Minicon. I'm not a fan of the integration, because it kind of gives him the gull wing door look, but it's kind of required to flip those out. If you lose the Minicon, he becomes difficult to transform, and he is again extremely lacking in the in the vehicle, in the robot mode, he's extremely lacking in articulation, more so even than some of the other Armada toys. Weirdly enough, he has wrist rotation in one arm, but not the other. Figure that one out. They asked Aaron Archer, who was running Transformers of the Toy. He didn't know how that happened. So, this one, I can't put it up at retail because I think this is where Bargain Bin comes in. He looks cool, but that's about it. The function itself doesn't work. The robot mode is just lacking in a lot of stuff. It's a cool design, but execution is just not there. And here second verse, same as the first. Blur. Super cool design. Okay, so once again, we have Minicon integration that's basically required. The gull wing doors suck, but this, where it becomes kind of a flight mode, that's actually kind of cool. I actually kind of dig that. I also like how none of his robot mode blue is really visible in the vehicle mode. It's a really cool visual transformation. I hate how about 10% of his vehicle mode is in his robot mode. It's a very kibble required vehicle. Most of the cars hanging off of his back. And the Minicon integration, again, you can transform it without flipping the Minicon gimmick on, but it helps a lot. And if that Minicon, that Incinerator Minicon isn't available, it's a very specific one. It's a very specific Minicon, because only Incinerator's long nose will actually go in and activate the wings. So that's unfortunate. If you lose him, you can't like switch out to another Minicon because he doesn't use a normal Minicon peg for his gimmick. And then again, once you get to the robot mode, next to no articulation on him, he again looks cool. He functions better, but man, again, I'm missing the execution here. Okay, again, this thing is like not following the path. I got to figure out why it does that. It's really bizarre. All right, I guess we're talking about Scavenger now. I like Scavenger more than most do. Scavenger is a common Plastic Addict request because he is a very, very brick of a robot. Shoulder articulation exists here and a little bit of elbow, but that's really about it. Everything else in this toy was devoted to keeping the treads intact in both modes, as well as a walking gimmick, which, to be fair, before this, the walking gimmicks were relegated to like the largest of the G1 toys, Triptychon, for instance. So the fact that they managed to do it in a much smaller scale is actually kind of cool. And it's this big Frankenstein of a walker. His Minicon integrates okay. He sits in the passenger seat of the actual vehicle mode. That's okay. It's not the best, but it's okay. This one is, I mean, play-wise, again, it's not great. I think it's a fun gimmick, but play-wise, he's definitely lacking. This is also one of those that confuses long-term fans, like when you go back and go like, well, why is he an Autobot? He looks like a Constructicon. That was the point. All right, so Scavenger goes to Bargain Bin. I like him enough to spare him from going any lower, but I will admit he is problematic. And speaking of problematic, we have Thrust, a toy who's... Okay, so I believe Archer admitted that the gimmick on him was never really complete. It was supposed to be this like flip over front spin around shield thing. It's supposed to work a lot better than it ended up working. So that is unfortunate. Inferno, his Minicon, interacts mostly by just plugging into the back of the vehicle mode and giving him like an extra missile launcher there. And again, he's an okay Minicon. He's an okay Minicon. Like, the look of the toy is fine. I actually like the look of Thrust in the vehicle mode. I don't mind the look of the robot mode. He does have some weirdness, like the missiles hanging off the front of his legs for some reason. He's okay. He's okay. Do I like him more or less than Optimus Prime? Yeah, I think for what he is, I like him a little bit more. He's less problematic than Prime is. I think Prime. I think there's so much gimmick going on in Prime that it takes away too much from the toy. Whereas like Thrust, the gimmick is in the way, but it still functions as like an actual action figure afterwards. So I can't get onto it too much. So I guess we'll leave him there for now. We'll figure out. We may reshuffle at some point. Sideways. Talk about toys that need to have a new version. Everyone was super excited because we were getting headmasters again. We're getting a headmaster figure. So Minicon integration on this one is super unique. He has two Minicons. Either one can form a head. The black one forms an Autobot, makes an Autobot symbol appear on his chest. The gray one, that he's more known for, makes a Decepticon symbol appear. He's a faction switcher. And I think ever since I think the first faction switcher that you could physically change back and forth was Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia. So this was the second of those. But the Minicons go further than that. The Minicons don't have vehicle modes. Instead, they combine together into a rider for the motorcycle mode, which is a really cool integration. The articulation, again, like most of Armada, is stunted. It's okay. It's not great. I do love the Minicon integration in both modes here. Aside from the fact that it does always mean that in robot mode, there's always one Minicon with nothing to do. So that's a bit of a downside. I guess you plug it into his arms and fire missiles, right? I guess that's what you do. We're putting him up to premium, not quite highest. If he had better articulation, he'd go, well, no, I'm being a little unfair here. Let's, we'll bump him up. We'll bump him up, because, like, yeah, his action features work really, really well. So, we'll put him into premium. We'll give the devil his due. Cyclonus, your turn. He was a weird one. Again, he's one of those, like Starscream, who kind of suffers in the articulation department and shouldn't. They absolutely could have given him better articulation than they did. I do like the helicopter mode. This like big attack chopper that he forms, and the trigger for the spinning blade works pretty well. It doesn't have like a free spinning thing like a lot of the helicopter gimmicked toys do. But this one was specifically geared because you were supposed to plug certain Minicons into the bottom, like we discussed, and spinning pulling the trigger to spin the rotor would also make the Minicon's gimmick activate. So, like, if it had a weapon that spun, it would spin. Super cool integration with Minicons that weren't actually partnered with him. Just a really cool thing they threw in. What was thrown in with him, Blackout, I believe was the Minicon, turned him into this like flat-nosed helicopter into like a full-on attack chopper that looked super cool. It's a really cool integration because in his Blackout's like individual tank mode, it's actually cleverly designed so you can't really tell that it also has like the front of an attack chopper built into it. Really cool trick. And yeah, good robot mode look too. I quite like Cyclonus. Not quite as much as Demolishor, and I don't think he makes it to premium because of the lack of articulation. I am gonna put him above Starscream though. He shares some of the problems, but overall, I do think he pulls things off better. I do like the Minicon integration a lot on him. All right, Hoist. Hoist was a fascinating one. So the articulation on Hoist is actually like way above par for the line. So everything on him works really, really nice. He has the vehicle mode's cool. It works well. His gimmick, once you unlock his arm with a Minicon, it's a really effective like punching gimmick that also doubles as like the shovel arms, like clawing, digging action. Really, really well engineered. Except for the fact that once you take the Minicon off, the gimmick doesn't relock. All the Minicon does is make a little lever pop open, and then you have to reset the lever yourself. But it's so small you wouldn't even notice it, and there's really no incentive to reconnect the lever and relock the gimmick. I'm pretty sure nobody ever relocked their Hoist unless they were doing a review of it just to demonstrate it. Because there's no point to relocking it at all. It was so dumb. But you know what? It's better without it. It means his Minicon integration is terrible, which kind of goes with the fact that his Minicon is one of the worst. I don't like Refute at all. He looks like a half attempt at an Insecticon, and it doesn't work. But yeah, Hoist himself is like really good for this toy line. Yeah, let's put him up premium. Yeah, I don't think I want to put him Holy Grail level. Is there anyone else on the list that could go Holy Grail? Well, yeah, actually, maybe. All right, so we'll move him there. We'll move him there. And we'll see where we go from here. Jetfire. Hi, Scott. Jetfire was a cool one because they actually managed to do a lot with him that is actually a little bit surprising. So, for starters, he had classic G1 sound effects in his gun. That was a cool thing. But also, cool-looking vehicle mode, cool-looking robot mode, all that kind of worked. He did transform into a pair of pants for Armada Prime, which looked a lot better than the block pants that his trailer formed. And in the meantime, he actually managed to work in a few tricks of his own. Like, just like a space shuttle actually does, like, open up at the top, open up its, like, main, like, cargo section. This toy can do that, too. So really cool that they worked that in along with all the combination gimmicks and the actual transformation. Articulation is even okay. Not so much in the hips, but arms are fine. Arms are fine. He looks fine. The wings on him in robot mode are a little bit weird, but beyond that, he's fine. Comes with a little lunar rover Minicon, which is perfectly in theme. Perfectly in theme. He's not a bad figure at all. Quite enjoy him. Let's see. I don't think he's like Where'd he go? Top of retail, low premium. Top of retail, low premium. Top of low. I'll be nice. I'll be nice here. God, like I don't want to put Minicons at the bottom of this. I'm trying to keep it in my head. It's like for their price and for what they do, how good is it? I'm gonna put him bottom of premium. He's not the most articulate for it. I'm trying not to hold that against any Armada toy. So, there's that. Red Alert. I can't hold articulation against him. His was actually really, really good. Double jointed elbows, full universal hips, knees working. He's the one that made you wonder, where was all the articulation in everyone else in this line? And in the meantime, he packed in a ton of gimmicks of his own. He had a flip-out cannon that worked. You had a disc launcher in his chest. That's an extra cool bit. The Minicon integration was pretty basic. It's just plug into the port and just things worked. He also had the siren electronics, which is another bonus. So yeah, not a lot of good stuff going on here. The trouble with him was just how heavy his backpack was and how awkward his proportions were. Big barrel-chested guy with tiny, scrawny little arms. This is a thing in Armada, and I don't know why it's a thing in Armada. Cyclonus and to an extent Starscream do this too, where the shoulders are just panels that fold out, and then the arms are like hanging off the panels, which in modern design makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know why that was such a repeat thing in Armada, but it was. It makes them look a little bit awkward. I have to put him up. I have to put him here. Yeah, for gimmicks that worked, I can't put him too high. Let's see. I think that works for now. We might re-examine this as we go on, once we get to the end. All right. My God. Sideswipe. God, what do we do with you? So, when I talk about gimmicks that hinder the robot mode, this is what I'm talking about. So, Sideways features a ton of gimmicks for a deluxe class figure. He's got a weird springboard thing in the hood of the vehicle mode. He's got a power punch thing in robot mode that has no actual working trigger that you can easily hit. It's supposed to also make his vehicle mode a dragster thing, which doesn't actually work or look good. You have this stowaway thing for his Minicon that goes into the back of the vehicle, but that requires basically the bottom half of his robot mode to be completely stationary. You have these massive pieces of kibble hanging off of his legs for no given reason other than the design failed to figure it out. I know every time I talk about this toy, people point out what kind of vehicle mode he is. I don't care what kind of vehicle mode he is compared to the sports cars and the futuristic cars that the rest of the line uses. He looks boring. It's not going to change the fact that he looks boring compared to every other car in this toy line. There are literally Minicon cars in this toy line that look cooler. No, massively hindered. And then when you get in, even when you get him into the robot mode, you've got a Minicon gimmick that just raises one of his arms. You're telling me that of all the things that a Minicon's powers could unlock, his arm raises. The man couldn't raise his arm without having a Minicon attached. And oh god, the Minicon Nightbeat is so like, okay, the motorcycle looks nice, but the robot version of it looks so awkward and so weird. This toy sucks. This toy will always suck. Oh god, it's the worst. It is the worst Armada ever got. Again, just reliving my ghosts now. Okay, so Smokescreen's vehicle mode is fine, for being fair. The winch actually works. The giant cannon, I think, works best here because the vehicle mode is far more stable. It is really cool to see this gigantic cannon actually emerge out of this crane truck. I will admit that's fine. I still hate the robot mode. I don't like how things are buried in it. There's some awkward proportions going on. I don't like how the head rotation is locked to the crane arms rotation. The gimmick in robot mode makes him so awkward, and it's so hard to keep him stable, even with his big old feet. He's just a really awkward toy, saved by the fact that he has one of the best Minicons. Like, is this a really neat Minicon that he comes with? Again, not terribly great integration. Plug into peg, unlock weapon. That's basically what he does. Yeah. I can exaggerate him for the laughs in Plastic Addict, but he's not good. He's not good. I think I put him at bottom of bargain bin. I know someone's going to fight me on that. I don't care. I've been fighting this fight for years. The Star Saber. Okay, so we're talking about the roleplay toy, like the actual roleplay toy they released. Star Saber is more like a Star Dagger. It does look like the Minicons enough. It certainly doesn't look like how they looked in the show. Then, of course, the show simplified the animation by making it a lightsaber. So there's that. It basically does next to nothing. It has sword slash attack noises. It unlocks a few things when you trigger it. It's pretty dull. And I think it was like $15 back in the day for this tiny little sword that barely did anything. Not great. Almost, I tried to get one for Plastic Addict, and then someone was going to donate it, and then the Dark Saber too, and then it never happened. Not that I would get much material out of it. Speaking of material, I've been getting material out of this toy for like a decade now. All right, so let's talk about Hotshot. The Minicon is okay, but very unstable in robot mode because of the awkwardness of the legs. He doesn't really have any heels to stay balanced unless he's like stuck in place, which means his articulation is worthless. Hotshot's vehicle mode is fine. It's Crayola yellow, which is really annoying and kind of overly vibrant. The mouth has a really creepy design. Arms are not great. Gimmick is flashy, admittedly, but it does compromise what is otherwise an okay robot. Give him credit. The leg articulation is fantastic on this figure, and again, makes me wish it was universal on his design. If I'm being entirely fair, he's not as bad as I make him out to be. He has a lot of problems, yes, but he still has a few things going for him. I do think the engine, I think the engine gimmick in vehicle mode is better than his Minicon gimmick. But yeah, he's still not great. I think I'm going to put him right there, low end of the retail level, somewhere along with Prime. For being completely fair here, there are far worse toys. Now, I can't say that about this one. Whew, breath of fresh air, finally. That's right. So, what we affectionately called as Bendy Prime, as a way of giving kids a cheaper alternative to the $40 leader class Optimus Prime. It wasn't leader class back then. I'm not even going to try to remember. It was a weird naming system. All right, so Bendy Prime, as we call him, deluxe sized, far more articulation. This is where articulation had like a really good shine and chance to show off in Armada. There's a couple little design flaws to him. The Minicon gimmick is terrible. He just kind of like shakes his shoulders, which I'm not sure what that's supposed to accomplish. Doesn't even look like he's like shooting his guns or anything. He just looks like he's dancing. Besides that, though, Overrun is a really nice Minicon. It's a really nice, sleek look, and then forms a weapon. So he has a target master mode. He's a triple changer, which we would see later on in the air military Minicons. Yeah, Bendy Prime has always been a favorite in the Armada line. Plagued by variants. There's like 3 different versions of them, and then in Cybertron, there's I think 2 different versions of that one as well. I think even Japan had something different. There's a lot of different. I pitied like completionists when that toy came out and kept coming out. So that's Prime. That's Bendy Prime. Okay, and apparently apparently OBS didn't want me to talk the last 2 Minicon teams at all. I don't know why it skipped them. I gotta figure out why it keeps making glitches like this. All right, race team Minicons. They're okay. You have this weird situation where Swindle was retooled into Mirage, just because the only thing it does in the Skyboom Shield combination is plug onto the bottom, so it didn't really have to do any additional work. Downshift, downshift. I actually remembered it. Cool. I don't like downshift. The vehicle mode's fine. The robot mode is extremely weird. I guess most Minicons are. And then the other one, which I can't remember. All right. And then the Skyboom Shield combination itself, I wish the color schemes were a little bit closer. Like the grays and the yellows try to pull it together, but I never quite really like saw it as like a full shield. Part of that does come from the fact that it just had an Indy car stuck to the bottom of it. Yeah, it's middle of the road. It's middle of the road. It's not great, but it's not terrible. All right, and then last we have the Destruction Minicons. This is the team that works well with Cyclonus. And it's a fun little team. Definitely unique. Drill bit, I want to say. Drill bit, giant drill arm, tiny little T-Rex arm on the other side. This always amused me, but I like kind of the drill system the most. Buzzsaw, basically a big trench digger. He was a really unique design. And yeah, those two, when you rolled them, their gimmicks worked really well. The Buzzsaw spun, the drill spun. Worked great. Dualor, the tank here, the tank just kind of like recoil blasted, which is a very minor visual, but it works. At the consequence of he's kind of like very basic compared to the other ones design-wise. But again, these 3 seem to be made to go with Cyclonus. They work exceptionally well. So with that in mind, I'm going to put them up to retail level, right along with Cyclonus. All right, and that is going to be the list. Man, this went on way longer than I wanted it to, but hey, I'm covering an entire toy line all at once, so what do you expect? If I'm looking over here, okay, so I think I like Holy Grail where it is. I think Premium is okay. Do I want to bump Jetfire down, or do I want to bump Cyclonus up? You know what? For his Minicon integration, I think I'm actually going to promote Cyclonus to the premium price. Yeah, I'm gonna give that to him. Let's see, and then let's see. I don't really want to move Bargain Bin. I I kind of want to put the Sabers down to flea market level because I feel like they were undersized and underdesigned, but really it's just a roleplay sword. What am I really like that upset about? It's fine. All right, so I think I'm going to call it a list there. Please, as usual, tell me in the comments section how I got everything wrong and where you would have put things, because I know there's always someone who I put their favorite way too low, or I put the hated figure way too high. That's kind of the thing here. It's just one geek's opinion about how the Armada toy line shakes down. So let me know what you thought in the comments below. This went on way longer than I thought it would. I apologize for such a long video. But hey, it's me and Armada. I am going to be vocal about it, as I have always been. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.